What is up, guys? Jacobshadowminer here, and welcome back to another episode of Voice Chat Vibes. This is episode 2, the long-awaited episode 2, because it's been about, Alex, like 2 months since we recorded the last episode?
It's been longer than that. It was back in late spring, early summer. It's been I think 6 months now since we recorded.
Wow, yeah, time has sped up. Well, of course, Alex would, and I don't think the audience really knows that much, but I've been a very busy person with a lot of things, like I said in my last video, and I tell you what, it feels good to be back and having like a consistent knock on wood, a consistent upload schedule. So it just feels good to be back. It just feels good to be back and doing things that I love doing, and it's amazing. So we had a guest planned, and two of the other people were supposed to be on. I think maybe, they still got time to show up, because the rule of the podcast is it's a chill, it's a laid back podcast. It's supposed to be like you're hanging out in an Xbox party chat. So it's just it's a vibe. So you never know, they might be able to pop in at some point. But anyways, we got Alex on because he's taking his awesome time away from his streaming to help us out. So why don't you say hello?
Yeah. Well, first of all, glad to be back. Episode 2. Let's get it. I'm excited to be here. It's been again 6 months since we did a podcast, and behind the scenes we've been talking for a while about getting another episode recorded and stuff, and the schedules just haven't lined up. So yeah, just really excited to jump in.
Nice. But now, hopefully, fingers crossed, the schedule, or at least the plan, is we record these episodes on Thursday nights, or probably around the afternoon. We have them out on Friday, and we have the audio version out on Spotify and hopefully every other platform by Saturday. Which actually, speaking of that, I do need to go back and take the old episode, kind of fix up a little bit, and put it on Spotify still. So there's still some catching up to do. But so this episode,
It's out of date, but it is going to be available eventually.
Eventually. It still does have to be on Spotify though. But this episode, so it's going to be out on YouTube tomorrow, and the audio version will be out Saturday. And then from there on out, I know I said I was going to take a break on my last video, kind of take the weekend off a little bit, but I think I might do some kind of recording. There's some videos I got to kind of remaster and put them out there on Spotify. I might take the last video I did, the Nightmare Before Christmas, or Nightmares Before Christmas, this little marathon thing I got going, which actually I was inspired by Kai Cenat, who did his whole Matthiathon for like 30 days. So I was like, I missed out on the Five Nights at Freddy's Before Halloween. So I was like, well, why don't I do a Nightmares Before Christmas marathon, playing all the Five Nights at Freddy's before Christmas? And it makes sense because you have the Nightmare Before Christmas. So I was like, well, I should do my own Matthiathon thing and do Nightmares Before Christmas. So expect those videos to be out alongside this one, but it's not just going to be all Five Nights at Freddy's. It's, like I said in the last video, it's also going to be some indie games. I got some games lined up I'm getting ready to play, so I might play those over the weekend. So we're going to get into what we're all waiting for. It's supposed to drop, I think, what time? 12 a.m. EST?
I don't remember, either 12 or 2 a.m., something like that. I forgot exactly what time.
I think Epic Games is, of course, Raleigh based, so I think they'll do Eastern Standard Time. So I would probably guess around like 12 or 2. but this isn't live, so so by the time this is out, that you guys have probably already experienced it. You're probably already playing it right now. And what we're talking about is Fortnite OG coming back. So Alex, before I get into my hype, because I never got to experience Fortnite OG, what are you expecting? Like, how excited are you for this?
Oh, I'm stoked. Especially, and I was saying this on one of my streams a couple days ago. It's a chance for people who have heard all the hype from Chapter 1 from the OG players about how Chapter 1 was peak Fortnite and everything. It's a chance for them to go back and experience some of what they're talking about when they say that, because it's like they just weren't around when the game was going through all of these changes and stuff, and when the player base was growing rapidly and all that. So they're gonna finally get a chance to see what all the hype was about, and I'm really excited, especially having played some season 1. Now granted, I wasn't there from the beginning. I started in, I think it was season 7. It was the Christmas season, but season 7 onwards through the end of chapter 1, I was on the game pretty frequently, and it was a blast. So again, I'm stoked.
Yes, speaking of that Christmas, they released some of the best Christmas albums, in my opinion. Like, you got that meme where it's that guy that's like riding on fire, and you got the guy with the freaking piano playing it on the beach and it's on fire. That was the Fortnite Christmas lobby music. I hope they bring that back. I was able to, I think there's like 2 versions of it. I think I got the second version, but the one I really want is the one that everybody likes. So that's something I hope they bring back in the OG update. However, I do hope they I think, like I said in your last stream, I hope they're considering like having a no build mode for this. I mean, yeah, the whole appeal for OG Fortnite was the building and all that, but some players like me and you who we play Minecraft, but we're not building Empire State buildings in like minutes. We prefer like a good, decent build, like no build mode. Just like, I think a lot of the appeal, most of the appeal for Fortnite is build mechanics, but most of the appeal too is it's fighting mechanics. The weapon mechanics, which which is what stands Fortnite out from a lot of Call of Duty, CS:GO, Team Fortress, you name it, because it's got a very unique fighting style.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it too is the graphics, the art style of the game. I feel like it was so unique when it was first rising in popularity and everything, because of all the shooters having this focus on hyper realistic simulation type settings and everything. I feel like Fortnite was just this goofy little cartoony third-person shooter, which I'm pretty sure was not really as big of a thing. I know you had other BRs before that, like PUBG and the like, that were sort of laying the foundation for that, but Fortnite really took that and elevated it to a new level, and that became sort of one of the appeals for the game above other options.
Yes, that's one thing I can actually really appreciate about Fortnite is their, art style in general should be unique. In industry standards, like even like when it comes to design in general, is always either about, like you said, like hyper realistic, or it's always about the best graphics in the world out there. But really, a good game is something that's unique, has its own unique art style, and something that stands out. You even think about Nintendo. Nintendo, yes, they might get hate. They might get a lot of people might get salty for this game it's locked at 30 frames per second. It's locked at 60 FPS. It's not the most powerful hardware out there. It's not. We're not talking RTX 3060 or ray tracing, but Nintendo does what it does best, and that is creating very beautiful artistic games that run good on their hardware. Even though it's not the most powerful hardware, it's still unique. It still has a very good art style. Yes, it might be 30 frames per second, but it works because it's, well, unless it's some of the Pokemon games, it's pretty smooth. It's fluid. It's great. And I think at some point Fortnite used to be like that too, where it was locked at a frame rate. So that way, I mean, it was in its own league. It wasn't the most powerful thing out there. It wasn't the most best game out there, but not everything has to be the best game. Sad as it is. I mean, at some point I used to think, oh well, you need a super system that can push out like 1,000 frames per second, and you need like this beautiful ray tracing. But now now that I actually kind of understand a little bit more, especially playing virtual reality more, as long as you have a game that is locked at a frame rate that your system can achieve, and it's got really great art style and it's got a good story, that is all you need.
Yeah, if it can give you an immersive experience, it can be fun to play, and it can have its own brand of uniqueness, you're set. You have a winner.
Yep. I mean, you don't really.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, in the current next-gen console era, I think Fortnite was the first big example of that, of a game that knows what it is, knows how to make it fun, how to make it competitive, how to make it unique, and make it appealing to everyone.
Definitely. Because, I mean, I hate how, console wars have just made it to where it's like, well, you've got to push out the best game out there, and especially, with Activision, they're pushing out games every year, but, it should be unique. And I think Fortnite brought a lot of, I think it opened a lot of developers' eyes. It's like, oh, wow, maybe we shouldn't be making the best game in the world. We should be making a game that, is unique to us. So, do we think Fortnite, I mean, this shouldn't even, we put this down in the script, but I don't know why we did, because I already know the answer. Do you think Fortnite OG is going to be worth the wait?
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Yep.
1,000,000%.
Yep.
They teased it last year when they did the return to the OG map for, I think it was November last year, and that month, if I remember correctly, the game experience numbers that they hadn't seen in years in terms of popularity from players, because of people wanting to relive the old memories of that game. So to say it's worth the wait is going to be an understatement.
I couldn't have put it better myself. I mean, I did actually, I didn't really get to play it that much, but I did play some of it. And just to relive some of that nostalgia that I never got to have was actually really, really amazing. If I recall, they did have no build mode, so that gives us some hope that there should be no build mode for this next update. I think them having it permanent is a good thing, and then having it be an option, of course, 'cause I know they're still going to continue on the current lore, the current story that's going on with the current seasons. But having an option, it's kind of like, if I were to compare it, it's kind of like Minecraft in a way, and I think it's also like Wizard 101. That's what I was trying to think of. Those two games, they give you the opportunity to revert back to previous versions. So like Minecraft, for instance, you can go back to like the alpha builds, like way before Minecraft was even like launched. Wizard 101, they've had a decent graphics upgrade, but you can actually revert back to classic mode. Now it doesn't really change everything, but you can get that nostalgia, like your sitting in a public library, playing like on an old computer kind of vibe, which, you know, to me was like the whole appeal of Wizard 101 anyways. So I think Fortnite having that option and actually giving a crap about putting that in, I think is good, because that shows they actually care about the community, the people that like Fortnite OG and never got to experience it, and it gives you the option. It gives you the option, which I think is a good thing. So, what, other than the what do you call it? The my brain is blinking. Okay, other than the no build mode that we talked about, what are some expectations we are thinking about for this game? I'm just hoping that they stay true to the word and it is actually permanent.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, can they find a way to make the game appeal? Well, not make it appeal, but can they make it feel familiar enough to people that are only used to the new style of the game? I mean, literally just today they already announced that they're going to be bringing in the mantling, the sliding, all of those mechanics, except for, I think they said the only one is the being able to move while healing in that. I think that's the only one they're not putting in, but they're bringing in all the other mechanics of mantling and all that, and sliding, like I said. So it's just a matter of finding a balance of making it feel like what everyone that played it remembers it as, while making it still feel familiar to the new players.
Yeah, and I really agree on that one, because when it comes to like going back to old stuff, I'm not saying everything, you know, like some old games are really great, but even to a degree, you kind of have to change things up a little bit, because, you know, say for instance, a lot of old games had mechanics that didn't really work out, that a lot of people didn't like, or they might not work on current hardware. You know, especially I think back then Fortnite was, I think, PC, and they were just getting ready to go on consoles. Now you have consoles, so that new movement style is kind of optimized to, like, you know, the console experience. So having that good, you know, like you said, that good balance of okay, here's the new stuff and here's the old stuff is perfect, because you're getting to experience old Fortnite, of course, but some of those things that Fortnite used to have might not really work out in a lot of people's favor now. There's one game I remember, I think Half-Life. Valve had to put out an update. I mean, they always optimize their games at some point, but I think there was a bug I ran into. I couldn't get past a certain level because, well, it wasn't optimized. It's on my, you know, my PC now, which is a 3060 and all this good stuff, but it runs at the lowest. It ran at the lowest resolution, which on a 1440p monitor, 1080p, which actually, you and me were talking about this earlier. I made the mistake of outputting my video at 720p. I thought playing FNAF 1 was bad because I have a 1440p monitor, and a 1080p game on a 1440p monitor, depending on the game, does not look good. I always try to run my games at 1440p so that it looks its best. It doesn't look distorted. Now this recording, I do have it set to 1440p, and everything should be fine. So everything should look good. Hopefully. Now I'll see if I can even get it to sound good too, because if I remember last time, it didn't sound too good. But yeah, having that good balance of like classic and all that kind of stuff is amazing. So I think we kind of already talked about it. But what are some things we think is going to be in this OG update, other than the sliding mechanics and all the other stuff?
Well, I know that they've already confirmed that double pump, which is, and this was I never actually got to experience this, so I'm ecstatic to try this out. But the double pump mechanic, for those of you who don't know, it's the ability to put 2 pump shotguns and shoot them back to back, like switching between each, firing them rapidly, and doing just enough to kill anybody damage between the 2 shots. So that's already been confirmed to be coming back into the game, starting with tomorrow's update. They will be obviously reverting back to the Chapter 1, Season 1 map. So just the bare bones. I forgot which of the original locations there are, but it's going to be the original map. All the original weapons are coming back. I'm not sure how they're going to handle the damage output, if that's going to be the exact same from what it was back in the day, or if they're going to tweak it. But all of the weapons should be back. Now, for the Season 1, I believe, if I remember correctly, the vehicles were not a thing yet. I remember shopping car was the first vehicle, and it wasn't until Season 3 or Season 4, I believe.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have mobility, the ability to drive cars, which seems second nature now because of how long that's been a thing. That was never a thing during Chapter 1, so that's not going to be an option. So mobility is going to be very limited for the first couple seasons, and that'll be interesting, like I said, to see how the community adapts, because they won't be able to rely on using a vehicle to get out of a fight. They're going to have to fight their way out or whatnot, depending on the situation. So,
if I remember correctly, it's going to be bad. A lot of people are going to have to, like you said, get used to actually having to run away from a storm and run away from a fight. Because I remember,
you gotta really be paying attention to that mini map to see where storm is. That's a really good point.
Yeah, because I remember, funny enough, 'cause I think you might remember this. I was sitting in class. I think back when it was like around Season 1 or 2. It was actually the first Fortnite game I ever played. And I was playing on mobile before they actually banned it on iPhone. And I actually got a victory royale, but I had to run away from the storm. I couldn't use a car. I had to run away from fights. It was an uphill battle. I mean, it was an uphill battle already, just me being on mobile. I'm surprised I got the victory royale in that. Yes. And there was no build mode. So I was actually playing in a build match, and at the time I'm on mobile, so you can't really build decent on mobile. So I'm still surprised I actually even came away from the win on that one. I posted on Instagram because I was like, oh my gosh, I got my first victory royale on mobile. But yeah, it was. There's some. Actually, back to that other thing too. You was talking about the double pump. I've heard a lot of people ever since they took that out have been demanding to get it back. So having that back, they can finally rest in peace now.
Yeah, no, the community has been, well, ever since I've been playing the game, that's been a thing, because like I said, that was taken out way before even I started playing, and so the community for years, I mean, it's been, what has been 6-7 years now since then, so that's been a thing that's been, you've seen that floating around in the community for a long time, so.
Yeah, I remember well how bad it was. Alright, so Fortnite OG is supposed to be coming back around, like we said, probably around now or 2 a.m. I haven't checked yet, so after I get off this, I'm not going to be...
It'll be... This is uploaded. It'll be out.
Yeah. After I get off this episode, I'm probably not going to be doing any editing. I'm probably going to be seeing if it's out try to get the game updated. That's going to take a bit, especially on my internet. So by the time it's out, you guys are probably already enjoying it. We hope you guys really love it as much as we loved Fortnite OG. So be looking out for that. So now we're going to move to our next thing, which is Alex's Sports Corner, which is a new thing we're going to be doing. She's excited about. So I'll let him take that away right now.
Yeah, so, let's jump into it. So, Sports Corner, I guess I don't really know how to present it. I'll just say it's Sports Corner, and then I'll just jump in, I suppose. So, just a couple things from last week that I found interesting. Last weekend in college football, there was a crazy uptick in fights between college teams for trying to plant the logo on the other team's midfield logo and all that. I know North Carolina and NC State got a huge brawl over it. Michigan and Ohio State did. I think I want to say it was Arizona and Arizona State as well. There were like 3 or 4 instances of it last week because of the rivalry weeks and stuff. That's the most I can remember ever seeing stuff like that happen, so that was really interesting. There was the big hit on Trevor Lawrence in Sunday's game between the Texans and Jaguars. Al-Shire has officially been confirmed to be suspended for 3 games. So he's probably going to try to appeal that, but I don't think he's going to get it lifted or reduced. It was a really bad hit. It was a really bad hit, and it was intentional, and it was from a player that's had a history of disciplinary action for exact situations like that, where there was a clear intent to injure and all that. So that's something that, like I said, it hasn't been announced that he's going to try to appeal, but let's be honest, no player wants to willingly sit there and take a suspension without getting at least a little pushback. So he's probably going to appeal. I doubt it's going to be reduced, like I said, because the hit was really bad. Lawrence had just came back from dealing with, I believe it was a hamstring injury, and that was his first game back in over a month, and then before he hit halftime, he was already knocked out of the game with a concussion, and it did not look good at all.
I remember seeing that that hit on X and Twitter. It wasn't necessary. I mean, the guy's already down. You don't have to tackle a guy. I mean, the point of a quarterback slide is they're trying to protect themselves. So why go after someone who's already, trying? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It was just unnecessary. And the fact that he's been trying to appeal it, please.
It's not going to get lifted or reduced. And I know this is never going to reach his ears, but Rex Ryan had quite possibly the worst take I've ever heard on the situation. He basically went and victim blamed Lawrence and said that Lawrence should dive head first at the player's legs instead of sliding, which makes no sense at all, because that actually just puts you at a more increased chance of getting a head concussion because you're diving head first. I don't understand why he was trying to victim blame.
Has he ever seen a Tua game?
Seriously. Oh, my goodness. It was such a bad take. I mean, I was driving home from work on, I think it was Monday morning, and just listening to his reaction to it, I audibly said out loud, "What are you talking about?" It was such a bad take on the situation. I got upset when I first heard it, and even just talking about it, I'm getting upset because it's such an irresponsible thing to say.
I can say one. Some reporters. I wonder if they just became reporters from a Cracker Jack box. It just amazes me some of the things these people say.
I mean, and I'll give respect to Rex Ryan because obviously he's been head coach and all that. He's paid his dues. He's been around the league for a long time. But there's just certain things that you gotta know or just stupid to say on TV, and that's one of those things.
Yep. Now back to that flag planting thing. I think a lot of those players are doing that because I remember I think Baker Mayfield was something that started that trend.
Yeah,
Now,
I think it was Baker
yeah,
Mayfield, and I think Johnny Manziel maybe had a similar situation when he was in college. So that's a little foggy to me. I could
yeah,
be wrong on that, but I remember Baker Mayfield had an instance like that for sure.
but it's very. I mean, of course, when one player does something out, all the others are going to do it. But it's interesting to me, like if Baker, to me, how I see it, if Baker Mayfield would have done something like that today, it would have started stuff like that. It's just so wild that all these like, I mean, college is a very unique area, anyways, because you have fans that run onto the field like when there's like 32 seconds left, and of course they get fined for it. But some of these colleges are so rich they just pay the fine anyway. It's like nothing.
It's popular.
Yeah, but it is interesting to see that there's a lot more fights breaking out in the college world. Now in the NFL world, you see fights, but you don't see them as often. But you see fights.
Yeah.
Speaking of NFL, Bryce Young. What do we think of Bryce Young?
I'm happy for the dude. From an outsider's perspective, he goes into his sophomore season. First of all, his rookie year, he's drafted obviously as the #1 pick, so he's going to be walking into a bad situation because the team had to be bad enough to get the #1 pick. They gave him no support. They had to trade away their only legitimate threat on offense in DJ Moore to get the pick to draft him, and they gave him basically no support his rookie year. So he flops, as to be expected when you don't have any help. And then he goes into his sophomore year. He comes out. How many games did he get? Like two games? It was early on.
I think it was two or three games, and a half.
It was early, and things weren't getting better. And to be fair, he didn't look like he was progressing. But again, what do you expect from a guy who's not given much of any support? So he gets benched for Andy Dalton, who's on his last legs in the league, who I'm shocked was still even still active after the disaster he had with Dallas when he was back there a few years ago. But the coach comes out and publicly stands by Andy Dalton. And I think during one of the games, the most ridiculous part of the whole thing to me was that Bryce Young got thrown to the Wolves in a blowout game at the end, and he said it was to protect Andy Dalton from getting injured. What? It's your second-year quarterback who you spent a ton of draft capital on, or traded away a ton of draft capital and future assets to draft, and you're just willy-nilly throwing him in there with a terrible offensive line and everything. I don't understand that at all, but I digress. So obviously Dalton gets hurt, Bryce Young comes back in, and he looks fantastic. Like I said, I've been rooting for him. I think he seems like a genuinely good guy off the field and everything. I have no reason to have any disdain towards him, and I'm excited for him to see if he can continue to develop and reach the potential that he was drafted.
Well, you know me. I'm the biggest Panthers fan. Well, of course, I'm also the biggest Ravens fan. But I'm more of a Panthers fan. And I can say, I don't even know where to start. So, with Bryce Young, it started in the preseason. He did not get started one single game. Which is, you would think, being an early quarterback, you would start your early quarterback to give him some reps. So, yeah, give him some kind of reps. Now, that was the first mistake they did, because, put him in game one. That's his preseason. So, he's not going to do good. I mean, you even go back to games like Lamar Jackson. He's always started in the preseason. Tyler Huntley took a lot of reps, but even then, Tyler Huntley took those reps in when he was needed in games after he was good, because he took those reps in preseason. So, I'll leave that, because that's happened. Now, when it came to Andy Dalton, yeah, he had his 2-game run streak, but then again, he started getting bad again. Yeah, I do think Bryce Young being benched did do some good stuff. because it gave him one thing everybody says about Bryce Young is his confidence. In Alabama, he was known for being calm under pressure, being calm in game-winning scenarios, dialing down the crowd, that sort of thing. And he kind of lost that a little bit because, I mean, the guy had a very bad first season, and then his second season, he was about to almost go on that season streak he had last season. So, but him coming back, he's actually doing pretty good now. There's some games I wanted to throw a chair at a window, but especially the Bucks game, that should have been a win. But the fact that he has even came close to beating Patrick Mahomes is really good and really promising. Now, he's no Cam Newton. He's not going to be running through O-lines and all that sort of stuff, but the fact that he's running the ball more, I've always seen Bryce Young as an out-of-pocket quarterback. Yeah, he's got a good O-line. Yeah, he can throw in the pocket, but he can also throw really well out of the pocket. You know, Tua can do the same thing. Lamar Jackson can do the same thing. Josh Allen. A lot of the league is starting to move towards out-of-the-pocket quarterbacks because it's random. A lot of teams can't prepare for it because you never know where they're going to throw. They could be throwing on the run. They could be throwing in the air. They could be throwing on the ground. You just never know. Or they could be running for it. And the fact that he's kind of getting that, it's starting to feel great. And the fact that he's starting to understand, as a quarterback, you can't take sacks. So like last season, it was sack after sack after sack. But now I think he's kind of understanding, okay, if I don't have people open, I can either toss the ball away, which he's done in a lot of situations, or I can run the ball, do short runs, stuff like that. So I can at least get the first down or avoid losing yardage, which is a good thing. It's good he's starting to learn that. And because a lot of mistakes from last year lost games because they lost yardage. And a lot of those were on key third down, fourth down situations. Now, Eddie Pinheiro is doing really good. Now, he kind of had a streak. He was kind of almost becoming the most accurate kicker out there. But then he's had some slips. But he's actually doing really well compared to that last Falcons game. But one thing I've noticed about Justin Tucker, he's kind of slipping a little bit, which is actually surprising.
And the worst part of it is it's came out of seemingly nowhere. I mean, there were a few signs last year when he started missing from 50 plus. He was getting increasingly more inaccurate on 50 plus yard field goals last year, but it wasn't enough to really be concerned about because it's like, oh well, he's just in a couple games slump, he'll be fine. He has dramatically fallen off a cliff this year. He's missing extra points. He's missing short field goals. I think I read a stat that the Ravens in I think it was two of their losses combined for 7 points. 7 points difference between the two losses, and Tucker has missed 7 points in those two games between the field goals and extra points. So it's just, I don't know what the deal was with him. I don't know if age has just hit him like a freight train or if his progressions are off or what, but it's a serious issue and it is severely costing the team right now.
I mean, yeah, it's just that it really. I mean, I do hope the guy can come back, but it really is sad to see all these reporters saying that this might be his last year. But I mean, really the guy's just making a few mistakes. I mean, at least to me at least. Every professional athlete has their bad patches, and I hope for him this is just one of those bad patches. I would hate to see the guy leave the league because I still think he's got a few good years in him. I think he can, I don't know about this season because there's only a few games left, but I still think at some point he can make comeback player of the year. Because, a lot of us, even outside of sports, a lot of us face adversity. Me and you both.